Hi, guys. I am so excited to come on here and talk to you guys today. I have been a little MIA inside the group today. It's been a busy, beautiful day of coaching clients and catching up on work because I have been sick for the last couple weeks. So I'm just going to chit chat for a minute. If you're watching live, tell me hello, drop some hearts, say hi, don't be a creeper. And if you're watching the replay, go ahead and comment replay so I know you're here, so I know you're watching, so I can come back and talk to you later. But I just basically wanted to come on and share my story a little bit, share about me hiding my gifts for so long and what that was like for me growing up and why I hid them and the whole story behind all the things and what made me feel comfortable coming out later with my gifts and learning more about them and embracing them. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that journey. For me, as long as I can remember, I've always had too many gifts to count. I've always had all of the psychic abilities. I've always been able to feel spirits, hear spirits, talk to spirits, have them communicate with me from the time I was little. So it was always a very normal thing for me is to have these things around. And I was always fascinated. I always felt different as a child. And I mean, as a young child, I'm talking like 5, 6 years old. I was fascinated with different types of books. I remember a guy came to where we lived, and I lived with my dad and my stepmother. And he came there and he was selling these types of encyclopedias. And inside of the encyclopedia, it was about the paranormal. And I was looking through the books as he was trying to sell my father on all these encyclopedias, and I begged for them. I remember begging for them. And most little kids, right? They beg for Barbies and beg for other things. And here I am begging for these books about the paranormal. And he ended up getting them just because I was begging. And you know how it is. If you're a mom, you definitely know when your kid is begging and screaming and you're tired and you just want to lay down. So a lot of times, what do? You pacify them. So he gets these. He says, I know you're not going to be interested in these. You're not going to hear these. These are way too old for you. They're way too scary for you. You're not going to want them. And so he gets me these books. Guys, I read these books from cover to cover. I stared at the pictures. I resonated. I identified with the stories. I made him read them to me. It was always something I've always been fascinated with, something that appealed to me. It made sense to me, and it was always something that really touched me. I was fascinated with movies, anything that had to do with the supernatural, anything having to do with the things that I was experiencing, the things I was seeing, the things that I knew deep inside. I always identified with, I was always obsessed with. If you're here popping on, say hello so I know you're here. And I was always obsessed with these things. And so I consumed them and I was obsessed with them. And I started feeling like I was different, having dreams, seeing visions, knowing things. And I would mention it, and my family chalked it up to imagination at first. My family chalked it up. She has such a wild imagination. And imagination is a tricky word, especially to someone who is gifted, because it has that tendency to downplay your natural abilities, your natural gifts. And instead of nurturing these gifts, so many times parents talk them away and tell you that you have a wild imagination. Well, it's not your imagination. Sometimes you do have a healthy imagination, but sometimes it's something that needs to be nurtured, and it's not their fault. They don't know any better because it's something that's unknown. It's something that's unfamiliar. Therefore, they don't know how to nurture this in you. And if you're like me, hi, Jenny. Hi, Shannon. And see, if you're like me at all, you have this gift passed down from different generations. So I have these gifts passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation. So, but they're not embracing them. No one in my family talks about this. It's like the hidden elephant in the room. And I found out by accident that they were even experiencing these things only because my gifts were so strong. I remember even being in, like, I think I told you guys the story of being in the 3rd grade and doing the Bloody Mary game, and me actually being a skeptic. As always, I'm always a skeptic, guys. I for me to be talking about woo and educating you guys on gifts and, you know, my journey and speaking about this, it all is still strange to me. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing when it comes to this. None of us know what the fuck we're doing. The only thing I can tell you to do is embrace who you are. It comes from a really strong place of self-love and self-acceptance that I've even started talking about this, because it doesn't come from me feeling like I'm this type of, what do you even want to say? Like a fucking know-it-all, like an expert. Yeah, I'm an expert because of my experience, but not an expert who knows what the hell we're doing. This is life. We're all living it and experiencing that and doing the best that we possibly can. And that's all that I can urge you and encourage you in doing, is do the best you can, but have a self-acceptance and self-love for yourself. And embracing your gifts is embracing who you really are. And that's all I want women to do, is embrace all of themselves and know that you don't have to be ashamed of any parts of yourself. So for me, having my family, I would come home hysterical. I mean, when you see a spirit, when you see a ghost, when you feel energies that are strong, when you have a vision in the middle of the freaking day and you literally see people like a movie in front of you in the middle of doing something normal and doing and playing with friends, or just a normal flash of a vision in front of your eyes, it's shocking. It's scary. You don't know what's happening to you. And it happened so frequently as I was younger. I would cry and cry and cry and cry. So, and come home and talk to someone. And I said to my father, I remember saying to him over and over again, you're going to think I'm crazy. You're just going to tell me it's all in my head. You're just going to tell me it's part of my imagination. And the biggest thing that he always used to say to me is, I don't think it's in your imagination. These types of things used to happen to me too, but you got to try to not mess with things you don't understand. That has been the theme of my life. Don't mess with things you don't understand. You'll be happier if you just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. I know it's real. People might not believe you, but I believe you, but let's not talk about it. If you don't talk about it, if you don't mess with it, it'll go away. So my whole life I've been ingrained with that thought that this is a bad thing and it'll bring bad to my life. And it's something to be fearful of it. It's something not to embrace, and it's something to not nurture. And it will actually take away from my life other than add to it. So that is the reason why I hid it for so long. It's because I had been conditioned to believe that this is what would be the downfall of my life, that this is what would take away from all of my other gifts and the success that I could have and the happiness that I could have by talking with it and having these experiences, because that's what he had been taught. And obviously that's what someone else had been taught, and, you know, it just keeps trickling down the line. So we didn't speak about it. I remember when my mother lived in an old house and I kept telling her, I know that there's a ghost here and I've seen her and all of these things. She would say the same thing. You know, if you stop talking to it, stop acknowledging it, you just need to ignore it. You know, if you mess with it, anything that's here is from the devil. That's what they taught me. So I felt as if I spoke and I communicated with these spirits, if I acknowledged these things that were happening, if I tried to explore it, that I was inviting the devil to harm me and whoever was around me. So it was really a dark thing, and it caused so much fear in me that I chose to hide it, because I felt unnormal and I felt like people would think I was crazy, and I felt like my life would be worse because I was exploring these things. So I felt as if I wanted to explore it, I had to do it in secrecy. And if I did explore it, I would be inviting so much bad into my life because of my beliefs, and because my family also was strong Catholic, you know, and Christian, and me playing with these things was not something you did. So I ended up hiding that. But I will tell you one thing that helped understand and bring peace to my life and help me come to terms with my gifts is at the times when I was coming into because at different stages of my life, my gifts were stronger, and there's always an up level. I would say every so many years, there's an up level. And during that up level, it's always really apparent to me. Like, it's really like things are happening in almost in an uncontrollable way. And these different phases of my life, when I'm coming into different gifts and having different memories, and everything comes back, because you can only tuck it away for so long. And that's something that I will tell you. You can suppress them. You can say, I'm not ready, stop. You can really work hard, and there are techniques you can do to suppress them, but they always come back. And when they come back, it's like getting smacked in the face. It really is. So I don't suggest it, but you can do that when you're not ready. And that's something that I did. And so when they would come back, when I would be experiencing all of these things all at once, all of these psychic visions, all of these feelings, all of these knowings, all of these sounds, all of these noises, the ringing in my ears that would hurt, the sounds that I would hear, the news broadcasts that weren't happening that I would hear literally in my ears after these ringing, and all of the things, and then seeing things move across the room and slam into the wall, glasses breaking unexplained around me. All of these things that I experienced, when they would come back full blown, I can always tell you that someone who also had the gift would approach me in my life without me having to say anything. They would just know. I was always like a magnet attracting other people with these gifts around me. So there was one point where not even my blood relative, my grandmother, not my grandmother, but my step grandmother, she's not even blood to me, came up to me. And she says, I know you have things going on. I can sense it. And I know you have some gifts and you don't know how to handle them. I can teach you how to handle them so that you're able to cope. You don't have to be in this alone. I can help you. So yes, vibrational matches. Yes, it's so true. And it's happened so many times. So she came to me and she told me, and this is really fascinating because my step grandmother, she came to me and I didn't tell her I had these gifts. She came to me and she says to me, I was born, and I'm going to tell you the story because it's so incredible. She was born with a piece of skin covering her face. Hey, Cassie, she was born with a thin layer of skin covering her face. Back a long time ago. I mean, guys, she's very, very, very elderly now. But the skin was covering her face. And she said the doctors had to cut the skin away because it was a light layer of skin covering her face. And she says, when people are born with that, they have very strong gifts, the gifts of sight. And she said she's always seen and know things. She knows things at a very intense level. She says she's even seen her death and she knows when it's going to happen. She knows how it's going to happen. She knows where, but she'll never tell me. She'll never tell anyone. She doesn't want to talk about it. It just is what it is. It's just something she knows. And she told me all of these things about seeing spirits and stuff like that. And she told me that the things that I knew weren't fake. They were true. She said possession is real. She told me about stories that she knew. And it was almost like listening to an elderly storyteller telling you all these stories, but they're all true. And she said her daughter didn't know about her gifts, my stepmother, and no one knew. She shared them with me. Very few people in her life knew about this. And she said that don't tell her, she'll just worry. She said, just leave it alone. She said, who needs to know will always know. And that's what she shared with me. She told me what to say, what to chant, to not have dreams with premonitions and to not have these very strong dreams. She told me that if I prayed them away, they would go away, and they did. And she told me if I just said, I can't handle this right now, please take it away, please hold it for later. And I really meant it, that they would always leave me and I wouldn't have to be afraid. I could pray to not remember my dreams. And there's all types of things. I could list this. It could be a whole video. But she gave me all of these tools for suppression, to suppress my gifts. But she also gave me compassion. She gave me connection because I wasn't crazy and I wasn't alone. And it was real. And I can't tell you how much of a gift that is to have someone in your life to make you feel less alone. Yes, I only told certain people too. I think that's been an ancestral thing, a generational thing. And it's something that most people have in common who have these gifts. And it's really part of the shame that I want to get rid of because I don't feel it's fair. But she shared with me that she had a whole secret life, that she had fell in love with a man who also had a gift, but she never married him because marriage in her life meant pain, and she didn't want to feel that. She didn't want that. And she didn't need to marry someone to love them and love them on a different plane. She said, because there are people who you'll meet in your life that you've loved for lifetimes. And she had loved this man for other lifetimes, not just this one. And no one would understand her actions based on that. But he died, and that was the one person she knew she was supposed to be with through, and she'd be with in another life too. And she said he also had gifts. So outside of what people perceived as their careers, he used to communicate with spirits in this row home in Brooklyn that they lived in. And everybody thought they had different jobs, and people came to the door and they would come and he would conjure spirits. And he had different boards he used to use and he used tarot cards and he used different things, but he literally used to deal with dark magic. She said it wasn't the good kind. And people say that every spirit, I've heard different things, I've studied different things, that the spirits that would come are all good. I don't believe that. I believe that you have the power to conjure good and bad, but it's just knowing that you hold the control and you hold the power is the thing that I will tell all of you. And she said that they used to bring all of these people in, and they used to talk to dead spirits, and they used to hex people and do horrible things she's not proud of. And she said that every night, I don't know what happens when you conjure on that level and when you bring those spirits into your home. She used to have to throw away their tools at a trash can down the block. And she would have to repurchase them because she said the spirits they would bring in would become attached to the objects and she couldn't get rid of them. And most of the spirits she were coming in, some of them were murderers and some of them were people who beat their wives and did horrible things. And she says having that kind of spirit energy around you is not easy, but she did some good too, but they made a lot of money and they kept it all a secret. And she said, and yeah, she taught me so much about possession and about spiritual energy. And she just had stories for days and really mostly taught me how to control my gifts and made me feel so supported. But at the same time, we didn't tell anybody else. We only talked about this with each other when no one was around. And she would say certain movies can help you channel spirits when you're gifted. And it's not that everybody, when you watch these movies, bring these spirits into your house. But the thing that you don't understand when you have a gift, I was obsessed with horror movies and ghost movies. The thing is, secretly, while you watch, your energy is saying you want to see this. But when you say you don't want to see this, when you have a gift, or you want to see this, or you don't believe this, that you can bring this in to your homes. You can bring this energy. You can bring those spirits to you unknowingly. And you don't know where they come. And I used to be obsessed with these movies until I had kids. And I can tell you, when I started having kids, I could watch a movie and I could hear things in other rooms, but it started becoming scary when my daughter would have a dream about a spirit that I felt the energy to, and it would come visit her, and she would say someone was playing with her in her room, and that's when I stopped because it was affecting more than just me. So I will say she's not the only person who reached out and connected with me. Another person, the most profound connections that I had was when I was a ballet dancer, and I was dancing in New York, and I was a teenager, and I stayed in New York by myself, so I would be walking in between breaks from ballet along the streets and window shopping, and I had like a 3-hour break in between rehearsals or 4-hour breaks, so I just stayed in the city because I would be taking subways alone, and I would stay there and walking up and down these streets and have lunch and do all of these things. And the most other profound connection that I made was I remember walking past, I guess it was I don't know what it's called, but I guess it was where a psychic shop in Greenwich Village. And I was about, I don't know, I think I was 15, 16. Hi, when I was a ballerina at Joffrey Ballet, my first training year there. And I walked past this psychic shop and I'm just hanging out. I honestly feel like, what did I have in my hand to eat? I don't know. I was eating something. I was always eating something. I like to snack. And I was just walking around. It made me comfortable. I actually had on headphones because, when you're in New York, there's so many people and I was kind of scared. You're kind of scared walking around by yourself. I put headphones in because it made me less approachable. So I remember walking past this shop and this lady ran out of the shop. She ran out of the shop and I kind of thought she was crazy. And then she runs up to me and she grabs me and physically grabs me, and she shakes my shoulder and tries to get my attention. So I'm like freaked out at this point, like, holy shit, why is she touching me? Oh my God, why am I in New York right now? What is even happening? And then she tells me, take out my headphones. So I took out my headphones, and she says, I need to speak to you. And I'm like, what do you mean you need to speak to me? She's like, I need to speak to you. You need to come in my shop, come in my shop. And I was like, oh, you're one of those. You're a psychic. I'm not interested. No, I'm not interested. She said, no, come in. You need to speak to me. I need to speak to you now. This is not a joke. I'm serious. You need to speak to me. I was like, I don't have any money. I'm not going to pay you. Like, look, I have ballet in a few minutes. I got to go. And she says, this needs to be said. Just come in. I don't want your money. I don't need it. And so I was like, okay, lady, I'm surely about to get murdered on the streets of New York. God, that's what I was thinking in my head. I was like, crap. And I have rehearsal because I was really obsessed with my ballet. So I go inside, don't know why, but I just went in. I knew she was desperate and I knew she needed to talk. So I went in there and I sat at this table, and I remember being fascinated because I really had never been in a shop that looked like that. And it was all these magical things and all of this. And I was really uncomfortable because I wasn't practicing any of my gifts. In fact, I used to like hide from anything like that in my life because I've had such strong experiences. And she calls me in and she says, sit down, I need to tell you something. And then I start giving her my excuses again. And she said, I said, shut up. Okay, well, when some older lady tells you to shut up and she's a psychic, you kind of get a little nervous. So you kind of shut up and you kind of listen. And she sits down and she takes my hand and she says, you have a lot of power. You're supposed to do big things in the world, but you're denying it, and you're going to have trouble in your life. There are going to be people who want to take you down, but you'll be able to overcome it. She says you need to overcome it. And she says, I need you to know that you need to do what you're supposed to do here. It's very important. You are sent here to resolve something, and you need to resolve it. You're going to have power. She told me about problems I was going to have, and these connections and these spirits that don't want me talking. They don't want me doing what I'm come here to do. And I was like, lady, you're scaring me. And she says, you'll resist this. You'll resist this for a really long time. But listen to what I say. You are divinely protected and you need to do this. And they're urging you to do it. And if you don't do it, you'll be forced to do it. Yeah. So I told her I don't want to know anymore. And she says, I know you don't want to know anymore, but I'm supposed to tell you. And if I don't tell you, I will pay the price for that. She says, watch those around you because people will pretend to be your friend who don't have your best interests at heart. They will pretend, and it will hurt. It will hurt like hell when they betray you. But trust that you are supported and trust that your people will come. Don't worry about them. You have a mission, and don't betray your mission because they will betray you. And at this point, a tear was falling from my eyes, and I said, you're scaring me. She says, I want to tell you about your children and your family. And I said, I don't want to know. And I tuned her out. And she told me, and I don't remember. And she says, I'm only telling you this because you can handle it. And I said, I don't have any money. And she says, I told you before I don't have any money. If you need help, I can help you with these things that linger around you. I see them and I know they're there and I can help you. But you have to come to me for help. I can't help you without your permission. You know where I am. Come back to me if you need me. And I never came back. I walked away. I went into my ballet lesson. I did my rehearsal and I did it flawlessly and I never turned back. But which her words stayed with me for my entire life. I remember them now as if they were yesterday. And that's not the only one. When I go into a shop looking at crystals, I don't just look at crystals. The people come to me and they say, I feel called to give you this. And when I go in, they said, I know what you're going through. You're not crazy. Use this and press down. There are so many experiences like this. And I can tell you, there has been always strength in embracing the messages that are being called to me and finding people who have these gifts or these messages for me and listening. Hiding these pieces of myself. I never understood why I didn't feel like I connected with people. I felt like it was my Aquarius in me. I know Jenny's on. She can appreciate that. Aquarius. Yeah, they feel like they're disconnected. You know what I mean? And I felt so disconnected. And I used to chalk it up to astrology. And it says, do you ever think about going back to see if she's there? The lady in New York. No, I don't. But I will tell you, Cassie, it doesn't matter if I do or not. There's been other people who've come up to me since her. In fact, I live in Myrtle Beach. I went to Polly's Island. They have an old magic shop. And I went in there and she told me a lot of things too. She told me I'm an empath. And she says, you're not grounding, are you? You're not protecting your energy. I see it all over you. She says, when you walked in, I know. And then I walked past this area and it was shadow. It was shadow candles and things like that. And she says, you're not ready to go here yet. But she says, I'm telling you, you can't have light without the shadows. She said, when you're ready to explore that, you're going to do some things that you don't even know what you can do yet. I can feel it. And she told me this. So many people give me messages without being asked. So I'm not able to just deny the gifts that I have and just kind of turn my back on it and be normal. I came into the online space to be normal. I came into the online space to be a business coach because I'm very good at business. I've been in business a long time, and somehow here I am sharing it on freaking Facebook, right? Like they're talking about all of these things that I used to think I was crazy, right? That's all in my imagination because that's what I've been conditioned to think. And you can't hide from your purpose. You can't hide from your calling. You can't hide from the things that you're supposed to do in this lifetime. So if there's a message that I'm supposed to get from the universe, if there's things I'm supposed to know, it'll be sent through someone else. It doesn't matter if I go back to her in New York. It'll be sent from someone wherever I am. Aquarius witches. I know, I'm saying, right? Like, I literally don't ask for this shit. Like, at all, guys. Don't ask for it. But it comes to me. No matter what. And at the times of my life, I'm going to be honest, when things happen, I call upon that. I know how much power I hold. I know what I'm here to do. I see visions. I know when things go down, these gifts is where I fall upon. And that's what I want you to check yourself as you explore. Are you suppressing this? Are you suppressing this because you're afraid to be who you really are? Are you feeling shame? Are you hiding from this? Because you can't hide from this and live up to your potential in other areas in your life. It's just not possible because you are hiding the things that make you unique. You're hiding the things that make you you. And the universe, she is never fucking subtle. So if you can try to hide from the little messages that you receive, but then it smacks you in the fucking face. Let me tell you, when you ignore like I do, because I'm stubborn and hard-headed. Yeah, I ignore. I'm telling you right now, I'm not fucking perfect. I'm far from it. I've been hiding under my rock for a very long time. But when it's time, it comes out. And when it's time, it definitely comes out. Like, I can't ignore it. I'm telling you, even if I try to hide my visions and tell myself that I'm not dreaming, that I don't want to dream, literally, I will have these visions while I'm wide the fuck awake. I will blink and it will feel like I just blinked for a lifetime because I just saw something unfold that I didn't want to see in front of me. Or something I did want to see. And I'm just like, did you see that? It's almost as if like you think everybody saw that. And no, you just saw it and I'm supposed to see it. I'm like, whose message is this? Did I touch someone? Did I speak to someone? Someone needs to know this. But I'm telling you, it's with me being comfortable enough to start exploring when I feel called that I've never felt more myself. I've never felt more like myself. I've never felt more connected to my body and my heart as I do when I am being who I really am. When I have embraced and I've decided to learn, I've decided to grow, and I decided to write down the things that I've learned over the last years that I felt was so unimportant. And when I take that whiteboard and I write down those things and I'm just like, God, If only I knew that. If only I knew that years ago, maybe I wouldn't have repeated old toxic patterns in my family. Maybe I wouldn't have told my girls when I saw that they had these gifts, when I saw my daughter running from spirits, when I saw my other daughter terrified to have people walk behind her because she's felt spirits touch her on the shoulder. Maybe I wouldn't have told her that you can pray it away and I can teach you how. Maybe I wouldn't have told her to not mess with things she didn't understand. What if someone had shared with me the things that I know now that I wasn't sharing? Maybe instead I would have said, let me teach you how to handle this. Let me teach you how to hone this. Let me teach you that it's not anything to be afraid of. And that you can control. You can control this. What if I had empowered them versus teaching them to hide and be afraid and to have so much shame? I'm not proud. I'm not proud that I've taught my kids the same toxic patterns, but I know now and I change it now and I'm teaching them differently now. All I can do is go back and try to undo some of the damage that I probably have done and hope that they find their purpose and their gifts so much earlier and don't have to live in so much fear and don't have to hide so many parts of themselves. Because how many of you are hiding parts of yourself? How many of you are operating in businesses or in jobs or in family and hiding parts of yourself? Yeah, I'm having to do so much deprogramming for myself and my family. And like I said, it's conditioning. Conditioning made me hide. Conditioning made me hold back. And not only conditioning, my feeling of knowing, because I can also spot people who are faking this. I can also spot the people who are doing this for financial gain and who are faking their gifts. And I didn't want to be those people. I didn't want to cheat people. Didn't want to lie to people. And I personally didn't want to be the one to tell them things that weren't just sunshine and roses and that you're going to find your soulmate tomorrow. I didn't want to be the one to tell them not to get in that car because of the horrific things that I saw when they did. I didn't want to tell them. I didn't want to hold their hand and stop them from walking out of that door. I didn't want to tell them that their husband is not who they thought he was. So I stayed quiet. And then I just watched the things unfold. And I cried. And I prayed it away. But you don't have to do that. Learn about these gifts. Hone them. Grow them. Find people who believe in you. Find people who will love you through this. Find people who have stories that resonate, that make you feel normal, that make you feel less different, that make you less afraid. And those are your people. That's your coven. That's your sisterhood. That's your family. Let them put yourself in that bubble and grow this because it's a part of you and you deserve that. You deserve this exploration. And we fear less what we know. So learn it and know it. So learn about this. The more you learn, the less you're afraid. And thank you. Thank you. Thank you for helping me feel safe. Thank you for helping me feel that this is important and this is just not something normal to brush under the rug. And that the things that have happened to me have a purpose. And it's not just in vain. Thank you. Thank you for watching this and staying with me. I appreciate you so much. And if one of you decides to really accept who you are and the special gifts that you have inside of you, that means the world. That means that all of this shit isn't for nothing. Like, really, it really does. And I am so honored. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you all. So I will be sharing more because I feel like so many of us have these experiences. I'll explain to you how it feels. I'll explain to you what it feels like when you have chills and goosebumps and you feel like hands are touching you. And I'll explain to you how to know, how to trust your intuition when you walk into a room and you feel that heaviness and you feel that darkness, and how to walk back out and to know that your feelings are valid, and the different types of ways that you can identify your dreams. Because here's the thing, I've had these dreams my whole life. I know what the ones that come in black and white. I know the ones that are more vivid. I know the ones that are like flashes. I know the differences between these, and I can help. So I plan to. So if you are curious, if you want to learn more, ask your questions, be open. Don't just be a lurker in here. We are here to support each other, and I want to cultivate something different, something new, something real. So hopefully you guys are open. You tell me what it is you want to hear about, and I'm happy, and I'm an open book, so ask. And I love you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will try to get back to these comments after the video. Love you so much. Bye.